Hello everybody, Anthony Aniano from RotoBaller Radio and RotoBaller.com here to present the early look at the Week 15 waiver wire for your 2022 fantasy football season. To make it the early look, as you know, we record Sunday evening after the late games, but before the Sunday night game and before the Monday night game. So obviously things can change over the course of those two games by the time your waiver wire runs on Tuesday or Wednesday evening. Now, Week 15, first week for most leagues of the fantasy playoffs, and maybe you're just looking to add a little roster depth. Maybe you're streaming certain positions, whatever it may be, looking for a hot hand. But ideally, we don't deep dive too far in the waiver wire right now as we try to go with the guys who have kind of gotten us here, pick up a few matchup plays here or there. Now, no buys in Week 15, so that's good news. But there were injuries in Week 14 at the quarterback position. Tyler Huntley, Kenny Pickett, Russell Wilson all leave with a concussion. Mike White came in and out of the game for the Jets. Rib injuries, went to a hospital after the game up in Buffalo. We'll know more on him over the course of the next couple of days. Running back concerns, Dameon Pierce left early for Houston. Had a strong game against the Dallas Cowboys, but was unable to finish the game. Dontrell Hilliard of the Tennessee Titans was injured. And then at the wide receiver position, Deebo Samuel, early reports on Sunday said he avoided major injury. It's his ankle, not his knee. We'll know more in the coming days. Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins in Cincinnati both go out. Corey Davis of the Jets also injured. And I'm sure other injuries will come through over the next 24 to 48 hours. Let's start, though, today at the quarterback position. If you, for some reason, need a quarterback, three players to be mindful of. Ryan Tannehill sits at the top of the list at the quarterback position for me. 33% rostered. He went 25 of 38, 254 yards, and 2 touchdowns. 3 of his last 5 games now, he's thrown for 2 touchdowns and had 20 or more fantasy points in 6-point per passing TD formats. Ryan Tannehill, only 33% rostered, finished Week 14 with just over 21 fantasy points and is on the road against the Chargers in Week 15. At number 2, it's the rookie. Oh, Brock, he's so pretty. Okay, 9% rostered. Hey, listen, when you have the skill plays that Brock Purdy has, just do your job. Don't go crazy. You don't have to create. You don't have to be the playmaker. Brock Purdy's job was get the ball in your playmaker's hands and you will have success. And that's what he did more than once against Tampa Bay. Now, concerns with the Deebo Samuel injury. Christian McCaffrey was the star. Everybody expects him to be. Brandon Ayuk, everybody else. He goes 16 of 21, 185 and 2 touchdowns. Runs a touchdown in, so he finishes with 3 touchdowns on the day, does Brock Purdy. 25.7 fantasy points on the road next week. Road start against the Seattle Seahawks, who are fighting for their playoff life. And then finally, number 3, check out the injury reports over the next couple of days, but Mike White has a terrific matchup against the Detroit Lions. Still only 20% rostered, and the Jets let him sling it. We know that. 47 pass attempts against the Buffalo Bills. 27 of 47, 268. Did not throw a touchdown, however, so he only finished with just under 11 points. But it's a nice matchup in Week 15 against the Detroit Lions. The reason I have Mike White third is because of the injury concerns. Now, at the running back position, there are 4 running backs. I'm going to just say their names. They shouldn't even be mentioned here today because, as we all know, I try to keep the players I mentioned at around 50% rostered. That being said, if Jerick McKinnon, who on Yahoo is 62% rostered, Cam Akers, who is 63% rostered, J.K. Dobbins, 69% rostered, or Zonovan Knight of the Jets, Bam Knight, at 55% rostered. If any of them are available, and they all had, nice games, Jerick McKinnon, the 2 receiving touchdowns, Cam Akers on Thursday night, 42 yards and a touchdown, J.K. Dobbins, 120 yards and a touchdown, Zonovan Knight, 71 yards rushing and a touchdown. If any of them are available, get them on your roster. Immediately. Now, they're not my primary running back ads. They won't be featured in my top 5 at the end because the roster percentage is higher than that 50%. But I wanted to mention them just in case. If I had to rank them alone, I would honestly probably go Zonovan Knight number 1 because he's got Detroit next week. J.K. Dobbins 2 at Cleveland. McKinnon against Houston 3. And Cam Akers at the Green Bay Packers 4. But we put them there. They're like their own separate entity because their roster percentage is higher than the norms we usually have. Now, running backs who fit our norms, there's not many. Okay, the top running back available right now is Chuba Hubbard of the Carolina Panthers. Had his best game of the year. 33% rostered. 14 carries, 74 yards. Gets in the end zone. 3 carries for 25. Outperforms Deontay Foreman, who was banged up with injury all week. I loved them both in my sleeper and value play. Gave the lean to Foreman, but Chuba Hubbard outperformed them with 18.9 fantasy points. He has Pittsburgh next week. Up second, if you have Christian McCaffrey, we have to get Jordan Mason on our team. Mason again goes for over 50 yards. I get it, a lot of it late in the game and in garbage time. But if something were to happen to Christian McCaffrey, Jordan Mason steps in that San Francisco offense as the featured running back. Better to get him now than get him after the injury so you know you have that security blanket. He went 11.56, a lot of it late, running out the clock, but he's only 13% rostered. You're not going to start him, but he's worth the ad. And finally, Dameon Pierce injury. If you're looking at the depth chart on the Houston Texans, it's Eno Benjamin and it's Rex Burkhead. Less than 10% rostered for both. They have Kansas City next week. I don't want to rely on either one of them. Okay, if I have to choose, Eno Benjamin 1, Rex Burkhead 2 for me from the Texans backfield. At the wide receiver position, for me, the clear top ad at the wide receiver position is DJ Chark of the Detroit Lions. Jameson Williams had a nice game. A nice catch. Let's acknowledge what it was. It was one catch. It was 41 yards. It was a touchdown. Not a lot of targets went his way, so I'm not overly excited about him other than his big play potential right now. I'm looking for volume still, and DJ Chark continues to get it for the Detroit Lions. 40% rostered. He's got 2 straight games now of 90 or more receiving yards. 6 catches, 7 targets, 94 yards, and gets a touchdown. 21.4 fantasy points. Let's just acknowledge we're in on the Detroit Lions passing game. It's just a fact, him and Amon-Ra St. Brown on the road against the Jets in Week 15. Van Jefferson of the Rams, 26% rostered. Now, Ben Skoranek had a nice game Thursday night. Didn't get in the end zone. More of a PPR play, a slot type of player. Van Jefferson is the guy I want because of his ability to get in the end zone and his big play appeal. Only 4 targets, but 2 for 44 and a touchdown. That game winner on Thursday Night Football against the Green Bay Packers with Baker Mayfield under center. At number 3, Chris Moore of the Houston Texans. If Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins remain out, Chris Moore remains the featured wide receiver for this Houston team. He's only 2% rostered. 10 catches on 11 targets, 124 yards, 22.4 fantasy points. And Houston's going to have to throw the ball Week 15 against the Kansas City Chiefs, especially if Dameon Pierce is potentially limited. And one tight end to be mindful of, and I'm going to probably mispronounce the name, and I apologize, but Tennessee Titans tight end Chigoziem Okonkwo. I think I got it. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. 14% rostered. In his last 2 games, 10 catches on 11 targets, 113 yards. Both games, 10 or more fantasy points. This week, Week 14, 6 catches, 6 targets, 45 yards, a touchdown, and a 2-point conversion. Finished with 18.5 fantasy points, and a really good matchup next week, Week 15, against the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, top 5 for the week heading into Week 15. And remember, McKinnon, Akers, Dobbins, Knight, separate entity because of the fact that they are so highly rostered, but potentially available. So my top 5 at less than 50% rostered this week. At number 5, wide receiver Chris Moore of the Houston Texans. Number 4, Jordan Mason of the San Francisco 49ers. Terrific McCaffrey depth. Number 3, Van Jefferson should be the number 1 receiver on the Rams going forward. Number 2, Chuba Hubbard of the Carolina Panthers. And the number 1 ad of the week, who should be added and go right into lineups, is DJ Chark of the Detroit Lions. All right, everybody. Head over to RotoBaller.com. Check everything out there as well. Sign up for any premium pass Get great stuff, news, information, as well as lineup optimizers, team sync tools. Follow me on Twitter at @ANianoFantasy. Like and subscribe to the RotoBaller YouTube channel and download the app for free right now to get all the fantasy sports news you need right there in the palm of your hand. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time right here on RotoBaller Radio.